here meditating and pondering on the ways of the world today. Thinking of my people Africa and the state of the continent today. How mothers fed their children today. As granny goes down on her knees every day and prays. How many souls are dying from causes that could be prevented? If we did have leaders who cared for us today. Oh, 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 oh. Zion and Yahweh. Zion away. Zion away. Africa rise, every 4 years, the politicians say he's your servant today. After you vote for them, they metamorphose into your masters. I say, have your say, we'll have our way, yeah. Not no strange, it's cow demon crosses. Meanwhile, souls are dying from causes that could be prevented. If we did have leaders who cared for us today. Zion and Yahweh. Zion away. Zion away.
Never ever quit, just a little bit longer. Victory is near, they're gonna disappear, go under. The leaders them no care, never tend to share. Babylon quit, the shedding of blood. Your heart a go suffer if you show no love. Stay away, consciousness. What we call the nation if for no righteousness. Just make sure the children live.
I pray for the future generation not to give up this fight. I pray for the children of tomorrow not to sell out their birthright. Cause when I look afar, I see the strangers eating up your food. Another form of slavery is coming here again. And that's why people are dying. Causes that could be prevented. Oh yes, we do need. All right, 1212 Radio Culture. We're also live on iCulture TV. Thank you very much for tuning in today. We are live on www.ghnewsnow.com, our home base. We're also live by kind courtesy modernghana.com, where they are kindly hosting a search iCulture TV and Radio Culture, actually. And you should find us on modernghana.com as well. We're also live on Martuna Radio and multiple other platforms. Today, we are going to have the last in the series for the year for our special show, the Fireside Reasoning Sessions. Dr. Kwadwo Wadie could not make it today, but I don't think that you should worry too much because I do have my beloved brethren, 7 Fireside, on the line right now. And as is supposed to be the case, 7 is actually going to be asking me more of the questions today and going forward, all right? That actually is the original idea of the show. It was supposed to be a reasoning session same way. Of course, I can also put a couple questions at 7, but essentially, it is his platform today. I'm just manning the controls for him from the side. Welcome, our beloved brethren, 7 Fireside. 7, Wagwan.
Charlie, Nyamiado, Rastafari. Yeah, but you
Almighty.
know, it's your show still, though, man. You know, I'm just here to ask the questions. You know, I want to hear, basically, you know, to catch up with you. You know, in terms of
Basically.
the ideas you're interacting with. You know, that's the whole thing. Yeah. So, quick one.
Yes, sir.
Man, the sound you to play, you know, beautiful. The Zion Awake or something, right?
Zion Awake, yes.
Man, I love your lyrics. You know, you're talking about thinking of the continent of Africa. You're
Basically.
talking about every 4 years the politicians come in and say they're your servant. You know, you fire democracy for that, right? So able to see another
Yeah.
form of slavery coming in. Charlie, it's serious,
yes.
you know. So I want to tie into my first question.
True.
You're talking about, I like your angle on the continent of Africa. And I think maybe we use that to frame the conversation, you know, like Black World, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So anything that way to stand out for you, anything that stands out, you know, in terms of the ideas you interacted with, something where you stand out, where you feel so we will pay attention to, or maybe we'll do something towards this the point you're raising, the continent of Africa as state, you know, in terms of moving together, you know.
Well, so basically, I'd like to approach it from our diversity, which also can be looked at as our what's the word? What's the opposite of diversity? As our
Homogeneity,
homogeneity,
uniform,
basically.
yeah.
Yes, at the same time, you know, because it's the same. It's the same and one thing, if you ask me, right? Because, for instance, if you take the arm of an elephant and you take the tusk of the same elephant, it's not different. It's the same elephant. However, the arm is not the tusk, right? So the fact that we sometimes look at ourselves as Nigerians, as Ghanaians, as Togolese, as Ethiopians, as whatever, for me, it only adds to the beauty of it all, because it's just different patches of the same fabric, you know. So I'd like to first of all make that point, and everything that we look at it from that perspective. The other day I was on a show with some Nigerian brethren and sisters, and we were making the point that Ghana and Nigeria, for instance, as a case study, right, has a very healthy rivalry, right? Like we tease each other, we talk about sport, we talk about everything. We think we are better than each other, including in things that we didn't even invent, jollof rice, you know. So we're like, oh yeah, we make the best jollof rice. Got Nigerians are like, no, we make the best jollof rice, but jollof rice comes from Senegal. So what are we even talking about, you know? But I think it all adds to our you know depth as a people, you know. So I would like to start the conversation off with that, and then everything else that we look at, the politics, the culture, the salient issues like food security, you know, like the threat of the threat of genetically modified foods on the continent, you know, the threat by big corporations to take over the patent for some of the foods that occur naturally in our part of Ghana and stuff like that. These are things that I'm, you know, chewing on at the moment.
Yeah, so please go ahead and start talking about it a little more, and maybe when we want you to frame the thing in the beauty of the nation state identity. My one complicate I'm small for you, make we think of it like those frameworks were created for us, right? Ghana, Nigeria. We didn't, and it's come with some baggage too, and it can lead to the problem of micronationalism when it comes to, and it's often happened like that, right?
Yeah.
So I think that we for temper what you to say, with that understanding, and I would love you to speak on that too, the how micronationalism sometimes is stall. They kind of block us from making some of these moves together. You know, it's like, and then I can't do
Yeah.
So you can tie it, but please go ahead and talk about.
So
like, I'd love you to take it in your direction, but just throw some of these things in there, make we learn from that.
Give thanks.
Yes,
so I like to look at that from a more nuanced perspective, right?
Okay.
Like, for instance, I don't think there was ever a time in Africa that we were just one big homogeneous unit, like we were just Africans of the same. I don't think so at all. Even within the continent of Africa, there are peoples.
Oh yeah. Endless numbers.
That's right.
Always forming. Yeah.
Yes. So some of these units, we didn't form them, like you said. We didn't create the nation states of Ghana and Nigeria and all of that. But if you look at the case of Kwame Nkrumah, for instance, he took lemons and made lemonade, right? He was handed a certain agenda. He took that agenda and built on it to his advantage, to the point where if we're talking about the addition of the Volta region, for instance, it's not part of the original idea he was handed. That was his later addition. You know, he took that, he merged different cultures, different peoples, different units, you know, into one form, which works. And truth of the matter is that we're either going to have that, or we're going to have smaller pockets of people. You know what I'm saying? Because even within Ghana, we had what you call it, JB Danquah and all these other people going to speak to the Queen and saying, "Oh no, we want." What they were fighting for was essentially Southern Ghana. You know, that's why it's laughable that now they want to claim part of the glory for a united Ghana and all of that. No, they were fighting for an Akan land. What they wanted was supposed to be called Akan land. That didn't include the northern parts of Ghana. They didn't. I need to check this, but I don't think it included the Transvolta region either, right? These were Kwame Nkrumah's ideas. No, let's add these other parts. Let's add, you know, I'm sure if he had the choice, he would have stretched as far as he could reach. You know.
I like that thing you said. So that's why I'm trying to say. So Nkrumah is looking at Africa.
Yes.
So that's what I'm saying. When I say micronationalism, what that means that sometimes we can say, "Oh, he did a wonderful thing with Ghana, so this is it." But his objective was not Ghana at all.
Yes, but then again, that's where pragmatism comes in there.
Yeah, but those are short-term things. Because look at his trajectory. Look at his impatience. Look how he contradicted everything. Where sometimes he looked ridiculous, like he was rushing, because he was like, he was even saying things like, "Look, man, even he's ready to surrender certain things about Ghana, right, so that Africa go happen."
Yes,
you know what I mean.
Yes.
Now that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying we should say, "Oh, it's either you take the nation state or you think of Africa." That's not what you're saying.
No, not at all.
And you're saying you're not saying that. Oh yeah, Ghana is so special that like that's it, right? Like this is the end point.
No,
but what I'm trying to say, just keep those directions alive.
The point I was really making there was about pragmatism, which I hail Nkrumah a lot for. You know, he knew what his vision was, but he also knew what the extent of his power was, right? Left to him alone, he would have snapped his finger and we would have had a united Africa. But he knew that he had to work towards that, and that would involve taking smaller steps.
Absolutely.
Right, including trying to get the Casablanca group and the Morovia group to come together and all of that. These were things that he had to, like you said, he had to even sacrifice some of the things that he would have loved to have, because the other people had. And remember, Ghana is this big in Africa.
True, true.
Yes, even after he had done all he did to add all these other regions, still Ghana is like infinitesimal in relation to other countries in Africa, right? Everybody would say, "Oh, why not Nigeria? Nigeria is much bigger." By the way, Nigeria wasn't Nigeria at the time. You know, it was Nigeria later and all of that. But what I'm saying though is that there are peoples, even when we're talking about peoples, the Akan peoples of Ghana, or whichever other ethnic group you choose within Ghana, would not be the biggest ethnic group, even if we were to look at it from that angle, right? The Fulanis would have made a point, the Hausa people would have made a point, you know, and all of that. Further down south, they would have made. But we're looking at pragmatic steps that he knew he could take politically and otherwise, right? And Nkrumah, by the way, wasn't just working politics on that front. He was also very much engaged with the people.
Absolutely. That's where he got his politics from.
That's where he gets his politics from. So he understands their heartbeat.
Yeah.
right? That's why he would not go and flaunt wealth in their faces. That's why
Exactly.
even when they built a house for him and say, hey, here, take this house, in the mountains, Pediasi Lodge, he could not see himself living in that luxury, when other people or the people that he's governing,
The people. Yeah.
right, are not living well, even to the point where some of them don't even have electricity or water.
Yeah.
And that didn't sit right with him, so he would be like, no, I'll live here all right to represent the people, but I won't keep it for myself. Let's make it the people's house, just like you said. So that's the kind of leadership that we're lacking in Africa now. But again, I'm saying that when we look at pragmatism, and I love to dwell on that a lot, because we've spent a lot of time educating ourselves, psyching ourselves up, creating the roadblocks that will propel us to what we want to achieve. Now it's time to actually achieve what we want to achieve. And to do that, we may have to break it down into smaller battles, right? And win them one at a time, so that we can move from there. That's what I think in that sense.
Yeah, that's interesting. I want to go on to other things you're interested in talking about, but then actually talk how to think of something, right? So when we say we break into smaller steps, right? In my thinking, those things were done in the 60s and 70s, like breaking it down into the many things and the ideas that have come up as a result of that. And Rastafari has actually been one of the a major producer of some of those ideas, right? The ideas are there. There's a lot of, stuff, literature, things that have put those ideas about, like, we understand the circumstances and the steps, right? And I feel say, how long ago Nkrumah come tried, right? So if we could just say, okay, he came to, let's say, lay the groundwork, things have been done, and so let's build from there, versus thinking like we're still at where Nkrumah was dealing. Plus, I think maybe the pragmatism, if I remember to also be say, not everybody had Nkrumah's idealism in terms of, not even in his time, right? A lot of leaders wouldn't handle Pediasi Lodge the way Nkrumah did.
Yes.
Let's face it, right? Many nationalists, great Africanists, and all that. And Nkrumah was thinking a particular way.
Yeah.
Sometimes he was alone, right? It doesn't mean those others. Yeah, exactly. So if we say, oh, where are those kinds of leaders? We're acting as if it was a lot of people at once. No, right? So
that's true and not true, right? Because again, if you really check it out, remember this, 7. Nkrumah won elections from jail. Somebody was doing the work on the grounds.
Absolutely. But where is that vibe coming from? It's coming from the thing in the air, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Are dealing with, there's a struggle in Africa. World War II end, right? The whole world is on fire against colonialism. That's the energy in the world. Now, are we sensitive enough? Like, the reason I love talking to you is that you sensitize us to what is happening in the world. Right. If we're sensitive to what's happening in the world, we'll respond a certain way to issues. If I'm not aware, if I'm not sensitive to what's happening, I don't know why I would do something. And I think there'll be something way to block off our connection with what's happening. In those days, there was a sense of, man, and either you to say, either you or Prof to say, people were so much on fire before independence because there was a heightened awareness, because that was the vibe in the air. Also radio, that's where you go here. Also newspaper, that's where you go here, right? That's what people to deal with. After independence, it changed the fire calmed down small. People started worrying about something. But even it was there, right? What I'm saying is that there are things that are always happening that if we're sensitive to, we go move a certain way, including what you're doing, right? Instead of seeing them like in a vacuum, like, oh yeah, we don't know. You're doing, we will be charged by what you to do. All right. And people waited to do things like that. You get what I'm trying to say? Something's happening, but we have to be sensitive to it. That's what made a difference. Because right now, there are a lot of things that spark revolution as we speak that we're just not sensitive to. Maybe we want someone to get killed before we start saying, oh, now we're angry. No, we don't have to be like that. There's so much happening that should make us have that sense of urgency, you know. But yeah, I mean, please talk to us, please.
Well, I mean, yeah. So, yeah, you're right. You're very right about that. And what I just want to also add is that sometimes we should also be present in the moment, right? We should also open our eyes and our minds to what's happening. You know, we should definitely open our minds and our eyes to what's happening in the present. And this is what I mean by that. Imagine the time when Kwame Nkrumah, I mean, imagine Kwame Nkrumah's time with all the negative vibe that was flown at him, right? The bombings, the attempted assassinations, all of that, the name calling, the mudslinging, all of that. And there were people who rode with that to this day and age, right? Where people still tag Kwame Nkrumah a certain way. They call him dictator and all that. Now, on hindsight, or with many years later, people are hailing Kwame Nkrumah. So this is what I'm saying. Are we looking at what's happening today, right? So that we're not contributing to name calling and mudslinging people who
are doing the right thing.
Right, exactly my point.
Yeah.
Right.
Go ahead. So tell us something. What did you pick up in your conversations this year, for instance?
So let me just make this point real quick. Okay, let's look at Kwame Nkrumah, right?
Yeah.
And then from Kwame Nkrumah till today, and let's see where Ghana has been. Okay. There are people who will make a much better job of it, but let's look at these main pointers from Kwame Nkrumah till right now. So Kwame Nkrumah has a vision for Ghana, right? People, detractors, come and, you know, disrupt that. After he left, right? The point I'm trying to make is that we have not necessarily had that type of visionary leadership till today. And the reasons for that, the reasons being that the system that we have chosen, government, is very hard for another Kwame Nkrumah to implement. Right, because the forces that control that system, it lends itself to all types of things. But from that time, after Kwame Nkrumah left, what happened after Kwame Nkrumah? The detractors took over. After a while, right, of them doing all their shenanigans, including using the army sometimes to do what they want to do, right? Because check this out: a coup happens in which some of the people. Buzia, a coup happens and Buzia is removed, but he kind of like hardly anything happens to him, right? But other people are made to go through all kinds of things. That's not the focus. Focus is this: after they went through all of that, comes Kutu Achampong, who thinks there should be a reset. Mark the word reset, right? Because Kutu Achampong was a firm believer in the ideals of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. So when he gained power, people even accused him of staging the coup on behalf of Kwame Nkrumah.
Hey, why not?
And yes, and lo and behold, he wanted to bring Kwame Nkrumah back.
Yeah.
And all of that, you know. So he comes as a positive factor to realign things back to at least as close as possible to where the original vision, and when I say original vision, I'm referring to Kwame Nkrumah's vision, was, right? Now, after him, we have the detractors again. Akufu comes and derails him. Now we can make a direct link from Akufu to the same detractors that derailed Kwame Nkrumah. Direct link. Okay? So now, after that, we know what went on. And then we have Jerry Rawlings, who also has what? Revolution, reset on his mind. What he did with that is up for anybody to judge, right? But everybody knows that many years later, people are beginning to see the reasoning behind some of the actions he took. And I'm not here to go into that either, because that's going, you know, straying off course. But for instance, people say, oh, he shot the judges. I don't know his role in those judges that died. This is why I'm not going to go in there. But let's look at it again. If you have a system where right now in Ghana, we have a Supreme Court that would sit and say, a passport doesn't make you a Ghanaian. That practically, shits in our faces as Ghanaians. can we make a case for when there's a reset and some people suffer consequences? I don't know. I'm just bringing our attention to it. Because to every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. You cannot use your position as a judge to intimidate Ghanaians as a bloc, or Africans, or any people for that matter, and expect no repercussions. I'm just saying. All right. Now, from then, we also had Akufo-Addo, right? From Jerry Rawlings, we had Kufuor. We know what he did, Atamils, all of that. And then we have Akufo-Addo. And everybody from today, us sitting here, let's live in the present. Let's not wait too long. But we have to interpret what's happening today so that posterity can interpret history properly. Otherwise, then they will have to conjecture. What's happening today? Akufo-Addo has run Ghana down to the ground. Right? And then there's a John Mahama who says he wants to reset. We're about to see what happens. But I want to open my eyes and look at what he is doing. Because we've had an opportunity to look at what he's doing. He wasn't perfect. When he was there, I was still on his toes about things like genetically modified foods. Which strangely, when he was in power, John Mahama that is, his party and the people who were in the parliament at the time who had to deal with the issue were pussyfooting about it. And I was not happy with him for that. And we are going to be tackling him again on things like that. But these are higher things that at least we'll be tackling our president on, rather than tackling a president on things like chiefs should stand up and greet him and stuff like that. So I just wanted to make this quick history recap for us to look at.
Yeah, right? yeah. Man, maybe if I do that, please, just do that, because it'll help us get a context, Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, please go ahead. No. Say some things, man.
Yeah, no, I made a point. So if you have any other...
Oh, Charlie, I thought you were going to take time into the other thing. So, okay, we can tie it into your recent reasoning with the collective, last week, right? Where you say you were dealing with Rasta as a formidable force, right? Political force, right? And maybe is there more you wanted to say about it in terms of these things we're talking about, Africa, global Africa, some of the things you really think about right now, because I think it's good to come to terms with what we mean by Nkrumah was into politics. Or people say because Leslie was into politics and Nkrumah was into politics, that's why they want to deal with political parties. But then really, if you check it back to, let's nuance it, the way they approached it was particular. Nkrumah didn't follow. Nkrumah designed something that he wanted to deal with. Selassie had held on to what he wanted. The fact that he's political doesn't mean he was dealing with any kind of structure. Everything is political, but there are particular frameworks, right?
Yeah.
Some things won't be tolerated. Some things will be, you create something, right? So, I was thinking about what you just said about Nkrumah and all that, and I'm seeing how he was someone taking initiatives in a certain direction, right? And it was not necessarily everybody thinking like that, but it had to be done, right? Rastafari, we may have to take things in certain directions. We do, the things we do move things in other directions sometimes for the benefit of the people, right? So anything you want to extend on, speak some more, interpret some afterthoughts you had.
I'll speak a little more about the forming the political force, but I also need to make the quick point that we may father or Kwame Nkrumah and all the icons and the heroes and sheroes that I identify may not have said, okay, all right, we're dealing with this system, but they are in the system. So they have to deal with it. That's the thing. You cannot operate in isolation. Kwame Nkrumah could not.
Yeah, but I'm just saying capacity. I'm saying the capacity. You can never run away from it. If you run away from it, it will come and find you. I agree. But what capacity are you doing? Are you going to people to tell them, say, hey, please do this? You're empowered.
And that's where that point that you made comes back in there, right? Because they didn't follow, right? They look at what's existing and then they see how they can use
That's
that
all I'm saying.
best
That's all I'm saying. Somebody
to
didn't
achieve what they
create.
want to achieve.
Someone didn't create a category for them to go fulfill. But if we're not careful, that's what we're doing. Like, oh, this is what maybe lobbyists do or a pressure group does.
Yes.
But it's so that someone is going to make the final call. When Nkrumah is in charge, he makes the final call.
Look, for
You know,
instance, Kwame Nkrumah, one of the things that the detractors used against Kwame Nkrumah the most is that he wanted to form a one-party state, right? Today we're running to China, a one-party state for funds, for what you call it, loans, you know, and without admitting that he wanted to form a one-party state, why not? Basically, right?
Yeah, but it's the way, because of the way which people see political parties.
That's what I'm saying.
As the Kotoko versus us.
Basically, right? And then they
Yeah.
planted that into us so that even when that's not there, we don't feel fulfilled. We don't feel like the system was fair enough. Even if we look at Rwanda, how long has Paul Kagame been there? And who is the pearl of Africa right now when we talk about infrastructure and orderliness and cleanliness and progress and all of, I was speaking with one brethren who said he was going to send me honey from Rwanda. I'm like, what's special about Rwanda? Like, honey's honey. I live in Texas. Like, there's plenty honey here, And it's like, no, the honey from Rwanda is special because apparently they have a horticultural culture, right? Where people actually grow flowers for all different kinds of purposes. Now, because of that, they have vast regions that is just flowers. And because of that, that attracts a lot of bees who produce a certain type of honey, which is different from the ones that are produced in areas where we have trucks running around and, the flowers are a bit polluted, whatnot. But you know what I'm saying? All I'm saying, though, is that Rwanda now is a gem. And that is because somebody had a vision. The vision that thankfully has not been disrupted. If Kwame Nkrumah had not had his vision disrupted, it would have been a different story by now. But people are more interested in we versus them. Oh, now we DB, Mama Yensu Yembe DB. Type of thing. Yeah, GMI, all kind of idiotic phrases that we use to fight ourselves.
Charlie, speak some more on that, please.
No, seriously, we're expert in that. Yeah. President Kufuor made a point which I always remember him for. He says Ghanaians know the cost of everything and the value of nothing. Everything, we know the cost of everything. Kwame Nkrumah wanted to build a dam. People knew the cost of the dam without knowing the value it was going to bring to their lives. Many years down the line, we have to go and build more to add on to that. You know what I'm saying? We know how to bring people down. We know how to disrupt and detract. We know how to do that. And I did not like speaking about my people like this, but fire. I can't focus.
Me want go push you, make you do that, right?
Well, I mean, to a certain degree, but
yeah.
I've also made up my mind that
our people
truth has to be told, fire,
we
because
have to talk to each other, man.
Yeah.
We are us,
If you go, when we're kids, we used to go play football, and then when we get a sore on your foot, you come home, so you don't want to show, right? So you're hiding the sore. And then maybe when it's on the left leg, they ask you, eventually when your grandmother finds out and asks you, you say, oh, it's on the right one. Then you give the right leg. Meanwhile, the sore is on the left one. Who you the fool? Right? So that's our case right now. If we don't call a spade and admit the fact that there is something essentially wrong with how we perceive things. And this could be due to the many years of slavery and purposeful, you're kind of saying realignment, right? Because a lot of these things, you can't say that they are innate. Some of these things, I believe, were learned over centuries and centuries and decades of being submerged and being realigned, being made to learn new things, being given new values, right? Because all of a sudden we're being told that our priests are not good. But the word bosom itself, let's examine that. Bibi a som wobo, right? A som wobo. You know what I'm saying? Or people would say, no, it means almost some a bo. No, the gods are not a bo. You know what I'm saying? They manifest in all kind of different things. Bosom means they value something. Even the word beye, which people put a different connotation on.
Yeah, no, you just say some things.
Which
Shall we
people
go there?
equate to obia in Jamaica. Please, I don't know obia in Jamaica, but I know say it is not the same thing that they call beye in Ghana. I know this because I've done some research in the area. Beye, there you go. That's another angle. The another interpretation is wabaye, right? Wabaye, yes. And then we have people who have given testimonies of people who have that type of force, using it for a positive effect. I was watching a video the other time when some guy was talking about there was a woman who was believed to have that force, and in the evenings, in the nights, they would go to the son's okra farm and walk around, and the guy was having a bumper harvest and whatnot and what. Hey, I don't know I don't know how those things work, bro. But I'm saying these are forces that we used to have for good or for bad, right? Same as everybody have their forces and they use it for good or for bad, And now we've been made to denounce all these things, all these energies that we could have harnessed for good. If we think it's bad, let's reorient and use it for good. How about that? Because I know people who have knowledge of herbs, for instance. One hunter, this guy was a hunter. He had herbs, right? He squeezes the juice from the herbs on an egg, and then he peels the egg, and it's like he cooked the egg. Do we have that type of knowledge? What are we using it for? People think we didn't have guns before white people brought us guns. No, we had technology that was producing gunpowder, things that would produce flames and propel objects. We had that, but we've been made to think, say, until the white person came. All we were doing was swinging on trees and waiting for somebody to come and redeem us. So that also, yeah.
Yeah, Charlie, I'm happy to say you give us a chance to vibe with you like this, because I love how you weave in the context, who we are, because sometimes, Charlie, we forget this, or you know what I mean? Or some of us maybe have never did bring our mind come there,
True.
Yeah, so anything you want to say, maybe you could say, I know so we get a little time, so maybe you could start linking some of the things you talked about, working together as Black people, Africa, dealing with our questions and the directions of journalism, Black journalism, African journalism, what you are going with your thing, what do you see? What do you want to see?
So journalism is one of the things that has contributed very immensely to the liberation. To whatever degree the African continent is liberated, journalism has played a great role, right? And in this day and age, we see a more of a proliferation of that. And there are two sides to that. There's a negative side to that, and there's a positive side to that. What do I mean? Back in the day, right, information was so controlled to the point that to topple a government, all you had to do was go to the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation and announce that you have taken over the government. Imagine that. Right? That's how solid information, the control of information was. We had GBC 1, GBC 2, English service, local language service. We had Ghana Television, right, which later became GTV, whatever they call it, right? And that was your information. Beyond that, where I remember us getting information from was reading. You had to read, right? You'd go to Baum Library, you'd go to the Ashanti Library, you'd go to whatever library, you borrow books from friends, make photocopies, you know, and stuff like that. And that's how we used to disseminate information. Now, we're in an area where the journalist, the traditional journalist, is at risk of losing his job. What do I mean by that? Back in New York, when I was working at Sarah TV, my boss used to make the point, and I use the word boss reservedly, you know. But yeah, this is, you know, one guy who was very down to earth, used to engage us in conversations all the time, off air, that is. And he used to make the point that traditional journalism is dead, right? He was more dire. He was like, it's dead. It's not even dead, but it's dead, it's gone. And I was like, nah. I mean, for somebody who had, and I'll be honest, for somebody who had just graduated from journalism school, how would you feel if somebody tells you journalism is dead? You know, I wasn't handling that too well. But with time, I've come to understand a lot what he was saying from a very different perspective, right? Now, journalism, the traditional journalism, has lent itself to be used as a tool by politicians, so that it gets to a point where people don't even trust these sources anymore, right?
So the question would be, what is journalism? Because to them, what you're doing is journalism. What you're doing is journalism. There's so many takes on journalism, right? So
Yeah.
if you advance your concept of it, you know what I mean? Because it's almost
Yes.
like there's a silent, there's a tacit, like an assumption, say everybody they understand what journalism for be the way they understand it, but just push out your understanding of the liquid here. Yeah.
So the traditional idea that you hear people flaunting around is to inform, educate, and entertain, right? 101. But I think that it should go beyond that. It definitely should go beyond that. And I made this point not too long ago in another show that I was on, that the times call for the type of journalism that is needed, right? Journalism can also be used for advocacy. And sometimes when you go too deep into advocacy, then people want to relieve you of the word journalist and see you in another. I don't care what people tag me. I really don't care at all. I don't even care about the term journalist, to be honest with you, as long as the work is being done. It's a work that's
so
important.
that's why it's good
Right.
you're doing this right now, talking about what you mean by what you're doing, you know?
Yes.
So, because it's
And-
a particular thing.
Yeah. And
It's gotta be a particular thing.
Yeah, I see more of advocacy, to be honest with you. I see a lot more advocacy. And I feel like every journalist should have some level of advocacy in their work, right? There's this journalist called Erastus Asaridonko, who is there's this journalist, he's called Erastus Asaridonko, that's his name, yes, from Multimedia. And he's made it his point to follow the land degradation issue, the Galamsey issue, right? And he has consistently been on that. So now he's doing his work, but he's also advocating in a particular area. There are people who advocate for, say, children's rights. There are people who advocate for, say, women's rights, whatever the case may be. But the thing is that there should be more advocacy. There should be a higher degree of advocacy in journalism, if you ask me these days. So now for me, journalism doesn't stop at inform, entertain, educate. It goes beyond that to advocate, right? And even beyond that also to defend whatever you feel like you have to defend, like the continent of Africa, like the country that we live in. You have to advocate. And advocating means that if you've seen something wrong, now I'm not going to go and be like, oh, okay, because I'm a journalist or whatever, I'm being neutral. So I'm just going to sit here and ignore the obvious, right? That's where the role of advocacy comes in. Advocacy is vital. Advocacy is very, very, very important. And I think that the modern concept of journalism should include a high dose of advocacy. And this is why the traditional media is at risk, because they still want to go by the traditional definition of journalism. And sometimes against the backdrop of the obvious, they still want to be like, okay, we want to be neutral and sit and see wrong being perpetuated because we want to be neutral. No, I feel like journalists should tackle issues. And this is where investigative journalism also comes in, right? People like Kevin Taylor and some of the things that he revealed to the Ghanaian people, which I believe ultimately informed them to make the choice that they made. And if those things had not been revealed, we would have had our grandfathers who have struggled all their lives, saved their monies, bought government bonds, thinking that that's the safest form of investment, only for government to tell them that we've given you haircuts, come for your money in 15 years' time. And we're talking about 75-year-olds. And somebody would have walked off and spent the money on private jets and slay queens. That's not right.
Okay, so no. Yeah. So yeah, man. Anything you want to add? You know, it's like you've covered the basic things I want to talk about. I'm very, very interested in where you see things are going, what things are headed. Though, what do you see? What do you think we have to anticipate, or what do you want to see? You know, already you started saying some things, but in terms of the situation in Africa, for instance, you know, say something about our relationship with the Alliance of Sahel states, for instance. The implications. What do you see? What do you see? What kind of you're calling advocacy? But you know, it could make people could say it in different ways. But let's take that situation for instance. What can be? What do you want to see and hear about
I want to see a more engaged youth in Africa, right? For a very long time, the youth have sat down and have decisions made for them. And I would like to see that change. But along that, let me mention that I've also had word of something that the outgoing president has done, which is put in place a policy that's going to make Ghana a visa-free country for African passport holders, right? Great initiative. Great initiative. I don't have too much to say for this president that's positive, but this would be one of them, one of the positive things that I can say for him, right? It's something that is needed across Africa. And I'm tying this back into your question about what I want to see, right? I want to see easy movement, free flow of people, goods, and services, right? Somebody was telling me the other time that they were going to, where were they going again? They were going somewhere to East Africa, I think, and they had to transit through Dusseldorf. What sense does that make? Like I'm in Ghana, I want to go to Tanzania or Ethiopia or Kenya, and I have to fly to Dusseldorf first before I can fly back onto the, like, what sense does that make? And all these are because of some little bits and pieces of things that can be done very easily, like what President Akufo-Addo has done, right? So that if I'm African and I want to go to, I remember when I went to Nigeria the first time, I did not know that I could travel on my ID card. So the whole time when we were going and somebody told me, oh, you can travel on your ID card, I was very skeptic. I was like, you know, and then we got there and lo and behold, they let me through. The West African, you know, the ECOWAS thingy works. But now we're extending that to where if I'm coming from South Africa to Nigeria, or let's say Ghana now, because at least we have, you know, put in place that thing, I can come into the country without a visa. And I hear people speaking against that. Oh, no, it's not good, you know, because we'll be no, people are uneducated about this. Let me show you how this works. When I was traveling from Australia to New York, right? I was traveling from Perth to New York. I transited through Dubai. When I got to Dubai, I had like a long layover. So I wanted to go into the city and go check it out and everything. They said, hey, there are tourist visas here. You can pay $100 and we'll give you one and you can go out there and go check it out. So what this means is that all those who are worried about losing visa fees while other countries will be charging us visa fees, it's not really like that. You pick up your visa from Accra instead of going to a whole hustle to pick it up before you come, right? So you fly into Accra. Once you get to Accra, they look at your passport. You're African. Okay, here, boom. If there's a fee to be paid, you pay that and then you go into the country. So I think it's a very positive thing, right? And together with the year of no return, which I think they didn't handle too well, but at least it's a start. You know, we're opening our arms not just to our brethren and sisters on the continent, but also to the constituency that was shaped abroad. You know, and we're saying that we open back, come back home. You know, and then apart from the African passport holders, I think we should also extend it to people who may not have African passport holders, but who may have African ancestry. Now, because of the politics of the day, that may be a little more difficult to achieve, right? But I think that there should be a way we should start looking in that direction so that not just Africans among ourselves on the continent, but also Africans in the diaspora can also travel visa-free to Ghana and other African countries, Rasta.
Absolutely, Charlie. The thing they talk now. But yeah, anything on the alliance of Sahel states?
Yeah, I've not done too much research on that, to be honest with you. I've not looked too deeply into that, and I would not want to just throw that around, But I would just like to look at that region in general. It's when the whole turmoil started, the coups and all of that, and people thought it was going to come further down and whatnot. It looks like it's dissipated a little bit, but we're still seeing some positive results coming out of that, right? I'm looking at a country like Burkina Faso, who obviously are benefiting from that switch, and all of that. But honestly, I've not looked too closely at this, Sahel Alliance, all of that. So I'm not going to say too much about that.
There was a little recent thing too about East African Federation. You have anything on that?
No, not that either.
Okay. Yeah. Haiti. We got like 5 minutes more, right?
Yes.
Haiti, the Kenyan presence there. What do you have on what's happening and how it affects us as Africans? Yeah.
So first of all, I love Haiti. Let me say that. I love Haiti. Haiti is like one of the one of the countries that I really, really, really love. Unfortunately, I have brethren from Haiti who, when I say that, they look at me like, "Are you crazy?" But
I got brethren who feel very strongly about when they hear you say that too.
Yes,
I got brethren from Haiti who just love Africa like that, where they feel like family when you say that.
Yes.
Too. So maybe some of those brethren.
Yeah, no, I'll come to that. I'll come to that. But I'm saying there are people who only look at what's happening right now, right? Versus looking at Haiti as Haiti from the historical times, the Haiti that kicked Napoleon's ass and sent him scrambling. The same Haiti that has sustained a republic in the West.
Yeah, so we can't be ashamed of Haiti.
No, not at all.
We're
not
proud
at all.
of them, brother.
Exactly the point I'm trying to make.
For us,
exactly the point I'm trying to make. And because of that, Haiti has become a target of incessant attacks of all different shapes and forms, right? And the latest now is to destabilize the country totally. We all know about the story of Papa Doc and all these kind of people who were basically stooges who were brought to run the country a certain way, right? Now we got to the point where now they are bringing all this kind of violence and destabilization. And then the worst part is that they have an African president who is daft enough to buy into this and send forces from the country. And I'm talking about Kenya. Kenyans don't like that. I spoke to a Kenyan woman about last week, and she felt very strongly about that. They don't like the fact that they are sending their citizens as a force to Haiti to go and do the work that they are doing. For what, they ask. But Haiti is a country that I believe will rise again. And let's mark this. Haiti wanted to join the African Union. I don't know how far they've gone with that. The last time I checked on it, I was told it's still in the works. It should be beyond the works by now. It's been years. I think that we should make history by admitting Haiti into the African Union, right? And that would set a tone for, actually gathering the energies from the diaspora back into the continent. Because if we look at other countries, we don't have total control, right? There's a large population of Africans in the United States, in Jamaica, in Bermuda, wherever you look, you find that. But there are not too many countries where we have control like that. Even in places like Jamaica, Jamaica is still really and truly under the Queen of England. She's still the head of state.
The king now.
The king.
Yeah.
I forget.
Yeah.
I'm still looking. I know.
The
king of England now.
Yeah.
So Haiti is a peculiar case, and they've actually expressed their interest to join the African Union. I think we should have done this like 2 yesterdays ago.
I know.
That's my thing on Haiti. But every time, just to your point again, that you also have brethren who feel very strongly about.
Wow, seriously.
I also have brethren like that.
Yes, I can imagine.
I have brethren like that also, but they just don't like what's going on in Haiti. And I have a brethren who went there recently, and the experience that he had because of the violence that's there, left a sour taste in his mouth. But I told him, brethren, it's your country, brethren. Like, you have to find a way out of it instead of giving up on it. What's happening there can be surmounted. And I think that the African Union should play a better role than sending Kenyan forces to go there to go do what God knows. The African Union should be sitting down with the forces at conflict. For all you know, they would both listen to an African Union committee or something like that and come to some type of resolution, rather than everything that we're seeing over there is shameful.
Then it'd be like, time be up, or man get like 12 more questions to ask, but maybe we go pick them up next time.
Next time, by all means.
Yes,
but because as you know, with the
you have a show coming up.
Yeah, and then I was actually going to say that we're entering a new month. So first, this is actually the last of the year, right?
Yeah,
so
man. Thanks for these gifts. Thanks for these gifts, man.
We may not have to wait 2 weeks. We could actually come again on the first Saturday of the coming month,
which should be next week, right?
Which should be next week.
Yeah. Then we can just get into it some more. I'd like to
please
extend some of these
jot
points,
down the 12 questions and the other ones.
It's hard to ask all 12 because when you start on one, we want to stay on it too.
Basically, and then all the little digressions and the examples and all of that.
It makes it richer. That's what it's about. So I make with it do. Charlie, thank you so much, man.
And
Yes. Oh, so we go vibe real soon.
Every time.
All right.
Every time.
Yes, sir. No.
One love. Every
sure,
time.
Charlie. One love. Yes, sir.
Give thanks. Yes. 7 Fireside was in the I was in the hot seat. 7 Fireside was doling out the questions today. Thank you very much for tuning in to the Fireside Reasoning Sessions. My name is Joe Beloved, and I am out like a light. Please stay tuned for more on iCulture TV, Radio Culture.
Spread your children today. As Granny goes down on her knees every day and pray. How many souls are dying from causes that Sit on the ways of the world today. Thinking of my people Africa and the state of the continent today. How mothers fed their children today. As granny goes down on her knees every day and prays. How many souls are dying from causes that could be prevented? If we did have leaders who cared for